Afternoon everyone, thank you very much for coming along. Before we start questions to Frank, just ask the Chairman Steve Parish to say a few words.
Guys, excellent. Thanks for coming along today. I suppose this is just about the worst kept secret in football. I don't think it's a big surprise what we're here for and who we're here for. So, two things really. We're delighted that Frank de Boer has agreed to join the club on a 3-year deal. Fantastically exciting for this football club. Another amazing milestone for us. And we're really excited about the prospects, not only for me working with him, but what we can achieve together with the club. And then also to announce our new sponsor, which again is a big milestone. ManBetX have agreed a 3-year deal, which we think is about the 8th biggest in the Premier League, which just shows the growing appeal of this football club. So we're very excited to announce both of those things today, and ready to take your questions.
Frank, welcome to the Premier League. Just first of all, how did the opportunity come about? Because the club took a good 4 or 5 weeks to make up their mind.
I think every club makes up their mind and want to make the right choice, of course. And so at the end, we had a talk together, Steve and I, with my agent, and directly had a good feeling about the club. Also the perspective, to manage a team in the Premier League. I was very excited, and because I think there are almost no weak teams in the Premier League. So I'm very excited to be manager for this club. So when he asked me, directly, of course, I did my homework and tried to get more information about the club, not only about the players, but also what the history of the club is. So I'm very happy to be here.
What did you see as the potential of the club? What attracted you to this club specifically?
No, especially to play in the Premier League. It's a club that still can grow further and further, because every English club in the Premier League can spend a lot of money, so there's the possibility to do something well with that money. And I think there is a lot of perspective for this club to be a solid Premier League club, and this is the most important thing right now.
Crystal Palace spent quite a lot of money back in January. Have you been promised funds to continue to strengthen the team ahead of next season?
First of all, I didn't meet the players, so first of all I have to see them, of course. Of course I know I have my ideas, and maybe 1 or 2 signings that I think, hey, maybe that is necessary. But first of all, I want to see all the players who are here right now.
You've been linked with the Premier League in the past. How close were you to getting the Everton job 12 months ago?
No, it was quite close. It depends about Ronald Koeman at that time. First he didn't want to go, and at the end he did. And maybe I was the second pick, I don't know at that moment. But he's doing well right now, and I wish him all the best. But at that time, they chose for Ronald Koeman, maybe for the experience at that moment.
And just looking ahead to next season, have you been made aware of has it been made clear to you what the targets are to next season? What would constitute success?
No, especially that we're gonna be a solid Premier League club team, and not to struggle for relegation. Of course, that's the main target, of course. And what we can do more, that's nice. But first of all, to be a very solid Premier League club.
I think you'll be the 5th permanent manager here in 4 years. What makes you think you can achieve above and beyond what your predecessors did?
I think every manager who steps in thinks the same. I have confidence with the team who's around me and the players that we can build a solid club with this organisation and the people around it.
You're an overseas manager, of course. We have many in the Premier League. Do you see this club as a stepping stone? We've seen a lot of overseas managers come here, spend a year, 18 months at one of the clubs in the bottom half of the Premier League, and then move on to something bigger. Is that how you see it?
No, no, I don't want to think about it. I'm focusing on this job right now, and what happens in the future, that's not important. The only thing that I'm concerned is to make Crystal Palace a very solid Premier League club, and that's my only concern. And what time will bring, we will see. But for me, I want to stay. You know, I signed for 3 years, so normally I want to stay for 3 years. That means that it's going well.
And Steve, could I ask you, how surprised were you by Sam Allardyce's departure? Because presumably you weren't expected to be in this position so quickly.
Yeah, it was a little bit surprising, although I think, we felt that Sam probably was going to re-evaluate his position at the end, and I would just take this opportunity to thank Sam for the work that he did. I really enjoyed working with Sam. I've been lucky that he's enabled me to consult with him on the new appointment, so I've had a couple of conversations with him over it, of what we should do and who we should pick. So, it was a bit of a surprise, but it was the right time for him to say it. Got us through to the end of the season, kept us in the division, did a brilliant job. As I say, I really enjoyed working with him, and he'll be welcome back at this club, any time. So what it did do is everything's an opportunity. One door closes, another one opens, and this is the first time in my 7 years at the club where I've had any time to really evaluate what we wanted to do. So worked with the head of recruitment here, with Josh, with David. We drew up a list, we looked at how we want to play, how we play now, what the style of the managers was. And of course it takes time, people are all over the world. I went to see Frank in Ibiza, and we flew people in from other parts of the world to see us. So these things do take time, but I think this was the week to get somebody in. We start testing the players on Friday. You'd have seen there's a few players back already, some of the injured guys. We've got a pre-season tour to Asia, a few things to iron out. So I think this gives Frank all the time that he needs really to get to know the squad, and then obviously work with me and the team here to see who we need to bring in.
Frank talked about what attracted him to Crystal Palace. What attracted you to Frank, and how did he explain what happened at Inter last season? It was 3 months that didn't go particularly well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we've always been a club that's been about young talent. Still at the heart of this team. Johnny Williams you'd have seen wandering around outside, who maybe slightly forgotten sometimes, but was at the Euros with Wales, when they got to the semi-finals, was part of our playoff winning team. We've got Wilfried Zaha as a talisman for the team. Youth has always been an important part of what we do, and Frank's renowned for bringing on young talent, number one, so that was very exciting. Obviously then the conversation I had with him, the amount of effort that he'd made to look at the club, to look at the staff, to look at how we played, what he told me about the importance of winning matches before necessarily exactly how you play, particularly in the Premier League. All of those things were unbelievably impressive when I sat down with him, and perhaps the most important thing for this one was 2 or 3 days after we met, Frank's agent rang me and said, you'll see a story in the paper that this club are interested in Frank. We have had a call, but just to let you know, he's not interested in going there, he just wants to come to Crystal Palace. Now normally in these situations you see a manager, it gets out, then everybody gets interested because you're interested, and then it's a big bun fight. In this situation, Frank made it very clear that, having met me and spent time with our head of recruitment, that he felt that this was a great opportunity for him. So that meant a lot to me also.
You must have had a chance, even at this early stage, to discuss transfers with Frank. I mean, are you interested in a couple of players you've been linked with, Iheanacho and Volkan Sen at Fenerbahce?
Iheanacho I know, because he scored against us. The Fenerbahce. Look, the problem is, guys, we send people all over the world like everybody else does. People send us player ideas. They talk to people at the club. Somebody at the club might say, yeah, that's interesting to us. There's only one person that decides the playing personnel at the club in the end, and that's the manager. So whoever we might or might not be trying to keep tabs on before the manager's here is irrelevant, really, because the only deal that we did outside of having a manager was Wilfried Zaha. Now, I think it's fairly clear to say that probably helped us get the manager. I mean, one of the things that Frank said to me when I met him, and indeed a lot of the other people I met, was we've got an exciting group of players. We've got a very, very exciting front line to come into. Benteke, Townsend, Cabaye, Zaha. So outside of that, we've really been waiting for the manager to come so Frank could decide, and he's got some ideas. of some people that he knows, which will fit the things that he wants to do, and that's what's important. Not what I want or what the head of recruitment wants. We're just there to provide options for Frank in what he wants to achieve.
It looks like one of the first jobs for Frank in his in-tray might be Steve Mandanda. The reports this morning that he hasn't come back for pre-season training. Could you just clear up what's going on there, if anything?
Well, no one's come back for pre-season. We don't start till Friday. So we expect to see Steve on Friday. You know, well, if you're a Crystal Palace player, you turn up for training as a Crystal Palace player. I know Steve a little bit. He's a super guy. I can't imagine that he would want to do that. But, you know, let's see on Friday. If you guys are right, he won't be here.
Just one more for Frank, if you don't mind. Just Frank, what went wrong for you at Inter?
A lot, especially the start of the pre-season. But I think I learned a lot from it, and that I can bring here. You know, we did that experience to Crystal Palace.
So, to Carrie, please.
Frank, Carrie, BeanymanSports, nice to see you. We talked about pre-season and the build-up to make this the Crystal Palace team you want, in the style you want. How much work do you have to do? How much time do you have to be given?
Normally, pre-season is 7 or 6 weeks, and that is the time that we have, because the most important game is the 12th of August. And then we have to be ready, and I think in 6 weeks, 6.5 weeks, we can be ready. That I'm convinced of.
How much are you going to change the style? How do you want to see this side playing?
No, of course, I have my own type of coaching and style of playing, but the most important thing that I want to try to play dominant when we can play dominant. And that means also, you know, for the fans to try to be attractive. We have a fantastic fan base, very enthusiastic. So they want also see that kind of football, I think. So of course we are not naive or something like that, but we want to dominate also when we don't have the ball. And I think that's the key thing that we want to try to do. And I think we are. If everybody, you know, does it well, we can do that. We can achieve that.
You're very well known and have lots of connections across the sport. Did you speak to any managers or players about your move here to the Premier League?
No, not before I heard that I'm going to be the new manager of Crystal Palace. Before, for example, I already spoke with Van Gaal few months ago, just to have an informal talk, you know, what's the experience when you maybe are a Premier League coach, that kind of, what do you have to think of, and that kind of thing. So Van Gaal is always very good to me, and we have always contact, and he was the first one who congratulated me with this new job and in this exciting football world, he said. So, no, that's really the only one that I talked to.
What did he say?
Yeah, that's between us.
Any hints? The headline? What was the key?
No, I think he gives some good tips, but that's for me.
We've seen how much you've brought players through and how you've built great allegiances with them, that Eriksson took his time and stayed with you until he came to the Premier League. When you saw that Wilfried Zaha is so invested in this community, was that a big plus to coming here?
Yeah, he can be a key player, or he is maybe already one of the key players of this squad. So yeah, it's nice to see that, you know, that he loves to play for Crystal Palace, and that he wants to be that keeper, still wants to be that keeper, and that's that kind of players you want to. If you go to see a game, you want to see that kind of players, and I think he can be a very important player for us.
Is the youth strategy very important to you? Steve, talking about the research you did.
I think they are famous about the youth academies. They have raised good players, so I will, you know, give youth the opportunity when they are good enough, and I will be interested to see how talented the players are, and if they, you know, already can have, you know, some make hours on the training pitch with the first team, that should be fantastic. That gives also confidence to the academy that they think we have an opportunity to come in the first team, and that gives a lot of spirit for the academy. When Martin Jol, he didn't spend much time to see the youth academy or give players chance. Ice is famous of the academy. So when I had the feeling when I came there, that young players wanted to leave because we don't get the chance, and I wanted to bring that back to here, or I want that feeling here.
It'll be a priority for you.
I think it's important, also DNA for the club, that the fans know, hey, this is my home town boy, like Sahai.
Can I get just the last one? Your view on your opening first 4 matches. You got 2 home games against what would be relegation battlers, 1 promoted side in Huddersfield, and then of course Swansea, and then your 2 away games are just at Anfield against Liverpool, and at Burnley, as you'll know, they have a fearsome home record.
No, but of course, it's very important to start well, and it's crucial maybe for the whole period of the season, and but that every club knows that, and you see a lot of teams who started very well, and they think they have enough points, and then it's enough, and that's why it's also for us as a club so important that we start well and give confidence also for the squad that we are staying on the doing the right thing at that moment, sitting on the right track.
Hi Frank, Adam from Reuters. You mentioned there's no bad sides in the Premier League. How are you going to approach it differently to maybe the Dutch League, where, with the greatest respect, there's 2 or 3 sides that are all going to be competing for the title, but in the Premier League, famously, bottom can sometimes give top a very good game?
The intensity is the most difference between the Dutch League and the Premier League. That's also easy to explain because they are much more experienced here. When you're 24, you're here young normally, and when you're 24 in Holland, you're old. That's the difference. And so the intensity is much higher, and that we will see. We'll see it on trainings, exercises. So I think we will be ready on the 12th of August.
Carrie mentioned the home games that you've got coming up. Have you had a chance to maybe hear about the famous atmosphere that is at Sellers Park, and in particular how important maybe a home solid base is going to be for you?
Yeah, if you don't want to struggle, for relegation, the home games are very important. We have to get the most points in Sellers Park. So with the fanatic fans behind it, it has to be possible, and that's we need them. The fans, they are very important. Also and I heard also, in not so good times, they are still supporting the club very fanatically, and I'm looking forward to sit on the bench and hear them shout, motivating their team.
Your backroom staff at Ajax was built around a lot of famous names that are known all around the world. Is there any thinking in terms of how that might translate over here with any former colleagues back at Ajax coming back over, or anyone that is well known at Palace coming in?
When somebody is good enough, that I think can be how to say it, reinforcement for the team. Yeah, I will do that, but there are also a lot of other players that I can be interested in. It can also be in the Premier League, but also, of course, in the Dutch League, because I know that normally a little bit better. But for me, it's the most important thing that if we're gonna sign players, that they already can make a difference for the team.
Is there anyone, you mentioned Wilfried Zaha, is there anyone that you've picked out from this squad that is going to be key for you, that you knew a lot of before coming here, thinking that that's going to be a good player I'm going to work with?
I think every player, and it is not only every player, every member of the team or the organization is important. Even the chef is important, because if they do well, the players are happy, they can perform better. So everybody has his role, and some key players have a bigger role. But at the end, players win games for you, but teams wins prizes, or teams at the end in which place you are staying. And so for me, every player is important.
And just finally, you've tasted success as a player and a manager with Ajax. Contrast that with the disappointment of missing out on the title with Ajax, and obviously what happened at Inter Milan. What do you take from those two types of things, and do you feel like you've only got any sort of point to prove here?
First of all, a lot of energy, because I'm very excited to start again. And what I already said, it was already tough. You knew when you start, you do your pre-season in the season. That's quite tough. The organization around was quite tough. So, good learning experience, and with the experience that I had with Ajax, I think I'm ready to manage a Premier League club.
Can we go to talk sport, Ian?
Hi Frank, this is probably actually a question to Steve. Does there seem any similarities between this season where we are now than we were 12 months ago? Obviously you tried to implement an attacking style of play. It almost seems like one step forward, two steps back. Here we are again with a new manager.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Frank said is he likes to play on the front foot where he can. I mean, no one goes to the Emirates today in our position and just all-out attack. There's a lot of nonsense talks about this stuff. Frank and I have had long conversations. We talked particularly about the Ajax-Man United game when I met him, where Frank felt that Man United did a job on Ajax. They played to their strengths. Ajax tried to play through the middle of them, play around them, couldn't do it, and Man United just really beat them up basically and overpowered them. And he thought that was great tactics, from Mourinho, and maybe Ajax could have chosen a different option that might have worked better for them. So we talked a lot about winning games. I've talked to all of the prospective managers about the fact that we need an evolution over a period of time, and there's no point just going out with a style that's just going to lose you a game, when you know it's going to lose you a game. But by the same token, we've been in the bottom three, I think, 2 seasons running for home form. Sooner or later, that's going to catch up with us. We got away with it last year, make no mistake. We beat Chelsea away. That was a pretty lucky victory. Wayne was the man of the match, 11 amazing saves he made in that game. Arsenal, I think we deserved it. Liverpool, we deserved it. But, you're not going to do that every year. We need to build a cushion, and Frank's number one brief is to reduce mine and the supporters' anxiety. That's really what we need to do. But if we don't get better, we're only ever going to be where we are. If we don't get the structure of this football club right, if we don't start building pathways for the young players, if we don't start doing something different than just going and trying to outspend people in January like we did last year, it's not a sustainable model for any football club. Our end of the division, and there's a fantastic opportunity with this club. There really is. The 8th biggest shirt sponsorship deal in the league just shows you. I think we've got something special. Frank and I talked about it. There's a little bit of something else about this club that I think everybody realises is there. We already play exciting. I don't think anybody can ever say we play dull football. We just need to find a way to incorporate that into winning games. 4-3 up at Swansea on the 92nd minute. We were nearly there, but we managed to lose 5-4. So we've just got to temper that style and maybe not take it quite so fast and quickly. And I put my trust in Frank to do that, because everything he told me led me to believe that he understands this game in a way that I never will, and he understands players in a way that I never will. And that's why we've brought him in, because I think that he can really achieve what we want to try and do. And just because it hasn't worked before doesn't mean it wasn't the right thing to try. We just didn't execute it well.
So Frank, do you think there's a bit of nonsense spoken about styles of play? Do you think it really matters how you're going to play? Because there will be people that think, a continental style of play might not necessarily work for Crystal Palace.
No, it depends. You have to be realistic and see, what the quality of the team is. And sometimes you have to play a little bit more reactive football than try to be more dominant. So, of course, I want to play dominant if we can. And if not, we have to be very compact and the quality, what already Steve said, up front is quite high. So we have to. I think every team nowadays have to play one or two or three systems and also different styles. So I think we have enough time to teach them.
Thank you.
And can we go to Pete, ready London?
Hello, Frank.
Hello.
Steve, how big was the shopping list you had of managers? How many previous ones before you appointed Frank did you speak to?
We had 37 managers on the long list, and we really tried to hone that down in a selection process that says, do we think we can get to this? You know, you've got some managers that have very extreme playing styles that only want to play a certain way, that might be a long, long way away from, you know, what we think we can do with our personnel. So is there any point really seeing those guys? You know, these are the guys in the middle where an evolution might work, and then these are the really pragmatic guys that are going to pretty much do what we've always done. So we evaluated that list and then set about a group of people that we felt were important ones to go and see. And fortunately for us, we're in the #1 league in the world, in London. You know, so probably outside, if you group together all the biggest clubs in Europe, and then out of the ones left, it's probably one of the most desirable jobs in football. Now, and you have to realise that in that moment, you know, because 7 years ago, we certainly weren't one of the most desirable jobs in football, and that brings with it a certain challenge, because actually often, when I picked a manager, there's been an obvious answer. You know, we might get relegated, let's go and get Tony Pulis, never been relegated, never will get relegated in my view. We might get relegated, Sam Allardyce is available, let's go and get Sam, and they did a fantastic job on the pitch. For us as a club, this is a different situation, and I just feel we have to evolve. We've got to get out of this bottom 10 somehow on a regular basis, and it's not so much about the points, because you can see the compression of the points with the top 6 really pulling away last year is such that almost all 14 teams at some point were relegation threatened. But you know, the ones that have got that bit of extra quality win the matches when they need to win them, just to give them that bit of breathing space. Because I believe they've got a playing style that lends it to doing that, and that's what we've got to develop at this club. You know, I think I've moved this club forward every year for the last 7 years, but we've stalled a little bit now, and we have to find a way of improving, and to do that, you know, you've got to bring in the right people, and I think, hopefully we've got that.
You say you've improved the club over the last 7 years, but you've been through, 7 managers in that time. Is the stability with Frank what you're searching for now, in the way that you're going to give him that 3-year period to perhaps move it on bigger and better than it has before? Of
course. You know, I mean, I think the average tenure of a manager in the Premier League is 18 months. If you take it Arsene Wenger, it's about a year. So I'm probably batting the average at the moment. You know, I mean, and you know, obviously, if Sam had wanted to stay, you know, he would have stayed. I think Alan was here for 18 months, and then it's well documented what went on before that. You know, there was another situation where we didn't want the manager to go. So it's one of those kind of leagues. The spotlight is on it. The pressure is huge. We all know that going into it. But of course, when you look at what Frank has been exposed to through his footballing career, you know, the absolute epitome of almost a perfectly run club in some ways is Ajax, isn't it? From you know, the system, the process they have. Actually, it lost its way slightly when Frank went there. You know, 7 years without the title, and he brought them 4 titles in a row, nearly the 5th one. So, you know, he not only has experience of how to create a winning football club, not only experience of the whole of world football, the respect of world football, but also the knowledge of how a football club really functions well from beginning to end. You know, it's going to be difficult if Frank says, well, this is what we did at Ajax, for me to not think that that's a pretty good idea. So, of course, if we can implement that slowly over a period of time, that's what we want to do. But we all know we have to win football matches. You know, this division is relentless and hard. And as a backdrop to that, the #1 priority is the first team and winning football matches. So that's what we've got to put our first priority on.
And Frank, is managing in the Premiership the biggest challenge that every manager wants in his career, particularly foreign managers?
No, I think, a friend of mine congratulated me, to be a Premier League manager. I said, you can be very proud. You're one of the 20 managers of the Premier League, the biggest football league in the world, and you can be very proud. And I feel the same way. It's fantastic that I, can be a manager of a fantastic club, and I'm looking forward, to start.